Okay, so picking up where we left off, we've created all the domain model in the application. What we need to do now is run the super scaffolding for the remaining models that need it. So we have already done this for a handful of models. So we have the meals and the meal plans, which are we can already kind of manage within our application. But if we go through our list, there's a bunch of other ones that we'll want this for. So measurement, we're not going to do it for because that is going to be defined within the application across all accounts. Same with meal of the day. So I'll just manage those in the database myself. Meal plan, we already have one, and we have a meal plan here. Now, the tricky thing with meal plan is if we click on a meal plan has many placeholders. So there's a whole bunch of placeholders. I'm not going to use super scaffolding, I think, for those placeholders. In fact, actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do that for now because I don't know. Yeah, we might as well because we can simplify it later, but it's a good start. So for meal plan meal, and we already created the super scaffolding for meal. So for meal plan meal, what we're going to want to do is bin. Oh, we can close this now. We're going to want to do bin super scaffold, and then we'll say that we have a meal plan meal. We have a meal plan meal that actually, do we want to do it like meal plan meal? I think I can do it that way. That is through a team. Is that the right way to do it? I can't remember. It's not. Let's do it this way. Meal plan meal through a team. Nope. A meal plan meal belongs to a meal plan. And then we will yeah, that's good. So for these fields, what we'll do is we'll have yeah, all of that works. I wonder actually what'll happen. I've never done this before. So I'm going to put date as a date field and see what happens with the super scaffolding. And then with these guys here, there isn't, as it is right now, there's not a, there isn't like it isn't so automatic with how it handles these form fields that will be created for these relationships. So for now, what I'll do is I will do these as IDs. Or, yeah, let's do it as IDs, I think, for now. So we'll say those are integers. But we don't need meal of the day because it's nested under. No, we don't need. We do not need meal plan because it's nested under meal plan. So you know what? I'm just so I can keep moving here. I am going to make all of these text. And then I'll, I wish I remember what the, let's just see how it works. All right. Okay, so we've done that. And now when we reload the server, this meal plan should have a whole bunch of records here already. And it's saying that there's no name. Oh, that's true. Yep. So that's one of the shortcomings in super scaffolding right now is that it always thinks that you have a name. So what we'll do is we'll define the name and we'll say, hey, we'll say the meal of the day dot name and then we'll say the date. How do we say, is it the date? Holy cow, it worked. So we got breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, and there's no meal assigned. Same meal of the day. You don't actually need that stuff. That's actually silly. Darn it. I should have thought of that. We don't need that stuff because it's going to be in the name of the thing. But anyway, you get the point. The data's there. We're going to clean up the UI, obviously, but it's got the structure of kind of a workflow and controllers and things like that that have all been created. So let's add that. Adding meal plan meals. All right, now we want to go back through our domain model. So meal plan meal we want to be represented, and then a meal recipe. Oh yes, we definitely want this. So we want to create this here, we don't need any super scaffolding for. This is going to be has many sort of field in the meal form, and I'll show you how we implement that later. But for recipe, we want to bin super scaffold recipe for a family, which we call it, which is the team model, and then we'll say oh, you know what? This is silly. I've been getting all hung up on like what the form field types are. I forgot the super scaffolding doesn't even look at that right now. So it really doesn't matter. We can just do name, URL, description, and then serves. That's good. So we'll do super scaffolding like that. Yes, we definitely want to set a recipe or add the recipe to the sidebar, I mean. So a recipe, we'll just say that that's like a, let's see if we can find a document icon here. TI file. Looks good. All right, so it's restarting the server. So when we go back, we should see recipes. Let's close these windows from our earlier videos. We should see recipes coming up over here. Here we go. So now we see recipes. We'll see recipes on the dashboard. We'll add a new recipe and we'll call it, you know, craft dinner. It serves for there's no description, but the URL is at like, you know, allrecipes.com/supercraft dinner with bacon. So we've created that recipe. So we have this recipe. We can go here, and now we want to add the ingredients to a recipe. And so that's going to be, actually, we do need to super scaffold this model. All right. So add recipes. All right, now we want to do recipe ingredients. So bin super scaffold a recipe ingredient under a recipe, and it's going to have a quantity and a measurement. So now when we go look at our recipe, now the idea in this application isn't that somebody will go in and manually edit and modify their own recipe ingredients. That's going to be some other service, whether it's us or Mechanical Turk or whatever. They're going to just add this URL, and then the recipe ingredients will get automatically populated from the recipe. So let's restart, or let's refresh. The server should be restarting, and our recipe should now have recipe ingredients. So we can add an ingredient to this. In this case, it's just going to be, there is no name. So recipe ingredient detail, the name is going to be, so actually check this out. So the measurement, oh, you know what though? We screwed this up because we didn't include, let's do this again. So I'm going to rerun this, and there should be a ingredient ID. Okay, so I'm going to restart this here, and there should be an ingredient ID. We don't have any ingredients yet. So before we can do this, before this is going to work, we're going to have to add some ingredients, and then this would be like a drop down or autocomplete or whatever. So we won't be able to do this yet. So we'll go back to the dashboard, and then we'll add the super scaffolding for ingredients. So let me add that one for now. Now we're going to do super scaffold for an ingredient on a team, and it does have a name, has a store. We do want ingredients to be over there, so let's see if we can find a good icon for that. It'll open up the URL for us. What's a good ingredient? I'm going to save that for the shopping list. There's really not a good one in this set, and that's okay. There's other sets that we can use, but for now, just for the sake of time, I'm going to use, something with a tag, like a price tag or whatever. Okay, so now we should have the ingredients. So we have an ingredient which is called craft dinner. We have a recipe that's called, let's edit the name of that recipe. And then I'm going to add back, if we go back to ingredients, I'm going to add an ingredient. And normally, again, you don't manage your own ingredients. That would be stupid. Nobody would want to do that. Oh, but let's say we have an ingredient category. So we'll do git adding ingredients. And then I'm going to add the ingredient category, which is the next sort of thing. In fact, we're almost done. We'll do and each family can manage those, and they have a name. They also have a store. So let's say store ID. We do want to add that to the sidebar. So we'll say what's a good category? Say, how would we organize that stuff? This is pretty messed up at this point. Doesn't really make sense. So we'll say maybe a folder, TI folder. We're just using these as placeholders for now. Whoops. So we'll do that. And then the last one that we need to add are stores. It's going to ask us about so I'm trying to find an icon kind of represents a store. I don't really see anything. We'll come back. Oh, here we go. Home. Yeah, let's do that. We'll call the home a store. Or, ooh, better yet, truck. That's kind of strange. Yeah, no, that's not really good. Store. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll do the super scaffolding for, we'll do, actually, that's not good. Let's do adding ingredient categories, and then we'll do store. So we'll do bin super scaffold store name, and then that's it. That's all there is for store. Probably an address or whatever, but that's not really. Whoops. Oh, I really messed that up. Shoot. Good thing I did that. All right, so in the super scaffolding, it has this helpful thing where it's like, oh, you can do this and this to undo all the stuff you've just screwed up. And get rid of all your files. So I'll have to redo the bin super scaffold store name string, but store, the mistake that I made needed to be out of a team, which is a family. And we do, and we're going to call it TI. We do want that location icon, And where did we find it? It was the map. There we go. TI map alt. There we go. Oh, whoops. TI map alt. There we go. All right. So finally, we're getting close. Hasn't reloaded the localization file yet, but once the server restarts, it will. All right, store. So they can add a store, and then I'm going to do like Trader Joe's. And now, so we have Trader Joe's ingredient categories. I can say, what can I say? I can say vegetables. And then for the store, I mean, in this case, I know that I can do that. I think that'll work. Yeah, it will. I can say store 1 because I know that Trader Joe's has an ID of 1, but that's not really what we want to do. We want to have that as a drop down. And so let's see. I am going to, I have an example of it. Actually, you know what? We'll come back and we'll do that in a second. I'll get some code staged. So we have a good example of that because I have some that I can copy and paste from my earlier projects. So we have ingredients, Kraft Dinner and bacon. Those can have a category and a store. In this case, I'm going to get rid of the store for now, because it should be optional. Back. And then, so we're looking at the ingredients. We could specify a store category that they belong to, the recipe. So in this case, if we edit this recipe, it serves 4. Now we're going to want to have recipe ingredients. So this recipe, oh, it already has it. So add new recipe ingredient. It shouldn't have a name editable on this form, which is fine. We can do that because when we looked at recipe ingredient, we define the name as being the ingredient measurement 1, so it would be like 1 tablespoon, and that was, what did we call that? Let's look in the schema. Or actually, in our case, we have a domain model document, so we can do ingredient recipe. It is the quantity. So we'll just call it like quantity measurement. So this would be like 1 tablespoon of ingredient. And def name would also be name. And then in the form for recipe ingredient, we can simply get rid of name. Now, in our case, we still don't have our drop-down form, so we'll come back and, whoops. Huh. Why is that happening? So I am on the form. Oh, that's for recipe. So recipe in form. There we go. So I'll get rid of it here. There we go. If we create a recipe ingredient, it'll probably do an error. Yeah. That's because this should have been measurement ID. And this should have been, yeah, that should have worked. So yeah, these are required, all of that stuff. So there is still cleanup that we have to do. The point is that it's creating all of this, structure for you. So at least we're just polishing things up. So recipes have their ingredients, meals. We have a meal called Craft Dinner, and it will have a field here where we can add different recipes to that meal. And then the meal plan, that works. Okay, so we're pretty close. In the next video, what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll fix all of those relationships in the forms. So we'll add the appropriate form helpers and things like that so that we can start actually managing this data. And then we're, quite close, actually. All right. Thanks for watching.